Welcome to Exchange IT Pro webcast. This is your host, Adnan Rafiq. Thanks for listening to this webcast, and for future webcasts, please visit our website, exchangeitpro.com. Thank you. Hi, folks. This is Adnan from exchangeitpro.com. Today, we'll talk about some more myths about Office 365. I did talk about myth number 8 in the previous recording. Today I'm going to cover myth number 1 and number 2. So I'll read it and then I'll share my viewpoint on that. So let's see what myth 1 is about. So it's more about that a tool which can be used online. So Office 365 is a suite of cloud-based productivity services which can include Office Pro, 365 Business. There are a number of plans if you go online and see. So those are all online applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but there are also some business plan like E1, E3, and E5 which allows you to download the desktop applications. So it's not necessary that you have only the cloud-based version of this Office suite, but depending what plan you choose, you can download them. So that statement is wrong if somebody is concerned that this is just the only online tool. But if you're like me who likes desktop publishing tools or Office, you can still do that. Then you store the data online, of course, and there are reasons why you want to do that. Unless there are some requirement or compliance, you may not want to do that. But most of the cases, why would you worry where your data is? I mean, if for most of the cases and the businesses, for small businesses, it's true. I mean, as I said, unless it's a financial data or some complex or compliance, you really don't need to worry about it. And I'll tell you, when you send your email on a free email provider like Gmail or any other, your text-based email, I don't know if they offer you any data in the rest or encryption and all that stuff. So you don't know much about the technology being a small business. But that should not be the stopper from you going to cloud services. Exchange online for email, calendaring, SharePoint, business collaboration tools, and all that you leverage. Going to Office 365, but if you're a small business, you have to think about you will need to have your own enterprise services to be installed. Then you will need some dedicated IT resources for your environment, like Sky for Business and Yammer and all that stuff. So think about each services. For Exchange, you may be using Exchange. Let's say you're using maybe a free like Outlook.com or Gmail.com. But for a business, if you need to host this email, you're probably going to have an on-prem Exchange server, which is not easy to manage if you're a small business. Let's say 5-user company, 50-user, 100, 200. So if you do the ROI, and TCO and all that business financial work, you have to think about it. And not only that, we'll look into that more details. What are the other consideration you need to consider about? Then again, we talk about the same thing: SharePoint, OneDrive for business, collaboration. These are the tools where in mobile age where you need to access your file. If you have your on-prem, your business is, let's say your server is not online, if you need to access a document, it's really become very challenging when you're traveling and you have to share some document with your business. You need to generate an invoice or look up for old record and all that. So you need to consider it's just not about saying your data is online and you cannot use this tool on the desktop, which is wrong. You can still do that. And now going to the myth number 2, and then I'll put more details on that. So myth number 2 is about the business saying, okay, we move to the cloud and we have no longer any access to our data. We don't control the technology. Well, it depends what size of business you are. You're maybe a business with 60,000, 100,000 employees. Yeah, it's a different game, it's a different mindset. But for the most part, for the most of the businesses, anywhere from 5 user to 50 to 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, you need to consider, again, you need to consider the cost of running the IT operations, refresh the hardware every 3 years, I would say, comparing to adopting this model. So, which, in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, it makes sense to go to the cloud. It works for most of the businesses, and then it should, work with you as well. I mean, you need to just compare. So now let's look at the more into that. When we move to the cloud, headaches and time spent maintaining hardware and software are significantly reduced, which is absolutely true. I agree that I've seen so many small businesses having issues. They update some software updates or patches on a system. There's some hardware patch goes wrong, or your system, you have one server which goes down, your business is down. But going to the cloud, you don't really have to worry about that. You can focus on your business. So if a small business or automobile or a flower shop or very small restaurant, you don't have to worry about all those things. Let IT or let Microsoft take care of that using their SaaS model. Your email does not really go down. You can have your email on the mobile devices all the time. You don't have to worry about all those pieces, like software and hardware, so repairing anymore if you adopt this cloud model. So instead of spending large option of your capital budget on servers or email storage and workload, you can think strategically on business support and all that more. Yeah, makes sense, because now you don't need to worry about every 2 3 years. Hey, how many servers do I need? Update patches and all that. You basically are owner for business, and the small business owner pretty much do all the jobs. So at least for IT, they don't have to worry about. And IT is very critical these days. When you talk about your email, your data, you have to send the email, your file, and all that stuff. So let it be on a software as a SaaS, software as a service model. SaaS services like Office 365, and host it there. And you may go for other platform, but you have to think of what you're used to. Like in my case, I've been using Outlook email, Office, Word, and I like the same look and feel. As I said, based on this experience. Um, so myth two is also about, not to say you don't have control of your data, but you do in terms of data and the rest and security encryption. As I said earlier, again, unless you have very complex requirement for compliance, then it matters. But if, in this case, if you're a US-based company, your data, when you sign up a tenant as a US-based company, your tenant's ID created in US, and your data is hosted in one of the US data center. So that's how it works. So now look at the slide, and I'll talk about some more of the points. All right, so this is the website, just as a FYI. So some benefits I'm going to talk about real quick. Hardware and software. You don't need to care about it anymore. You don't need to do any hardware refresh, any hardware upgrade, any 3 years or 5 years. You don't have to worry about more of the software because you pay as you go model in Office 365. Backup and restore, another big thing. Very, very important thing. I've seen many people, they do the backup. When there's time to restore are not 100%. So that's a big challenge. And as another headache on top of daily operations, you have to manage and make sure the backup is there and restored. If you go to O365 model, you don't really have to worry about that. Storage capacity and unlimited storage. In terms of email and file storage is one of those things which keep on growing. You cannot control that. It's very hard. So if you go to this model for Office 365 and give you an example of email, you get a by default of 50 gig mailbox and 50 gig for archive, I believe, and they have unlimited. So 100 gigs of mailbox, think about it. If you have to build those mailboxes in your environment, it's difficult to challenge. So it's a perfect match for any small, medium-sized businesses to consider this software as a service. And that's my recommendation. So that's my experience. So that's based on what I have seen, and that's the criteria when I'm suggesting to these solutions. High availability and the disaster recovery. So if you go for any cloud services, you don't really have to think about that you need to have more than one server, more firewall, routers, internet connection, all those things. You have to double it up even the power supply, the hard drives, and all that. So there is a big cost when you have your on-prem and you're trying to build that environment comparing to the software as a service and pay-as-you-go model. No downtime. Yeah, it's pretty much most of the time you read the SLA. They're 99 point, I think 39 or 49. You can look it up. Which is very difficult for any small businesses to achieve this SLA or uptime in their environment. So you need to consider that it really can impact your business. Anywhere, any device. Yes, today you can access pretty much these files using the web apps available for your iPhone, Android, and Windows phone. It's fully supported. You want to access your document OneDrive for business or your emails, you can share them. So if you have on-prem, you may not have even 20-30%, not more than that. So that's another big thing you need to consider. You're on the go, you're connected, you're a small business owner, you're doing all the job, you're at your office, you're at home, you're on the road. So it gives you that level of business productivity and collaboration with your customer and your coworkers. So you need to consider that. Latest and greatest technology. So let Microsoft take care of all the software patches, upgrades, new feature. If you look at Office 365, they come up with different features. Lately, they came across about the video feature. In the past, few months ago, there were Office Group, their integration. There are tons of features. You go online, you look it up. So these are, in a nutshell, the things needed to consider for any small, medium-sized businesses, even for the enterprise. But enterprise, as I said, is a different ballgame. It's totally out of the scope of this particular video. But any businesses, as I said again, for any smaller to medium-sized businesses, 5, 50, 100, 200, 5,000, 10,000 maybe, depending again. Business complexity, the more number you grow, but most of the time it works more than 90, I would say, percent of the businesses. And you need to consider all these things when you are, doing your research, and based on that, these are the things you need to think about. Okay, what hardware, software, backup, storage, high availability, downtime, mobile access devices, patching, latest greatest technology upgrades, and all that. So it's a pay-as-you-go model. You have today, let's say, 4 people. Next year, you grow up, your company has grown. You might have 40 people. You increase your sales force, and then later you have 20 people. So it's a very good control licensing management. So you pay for the number, you pay for the services you want to use, you pay for the number of users you want to use. So there are different pricing models. I'll walk them through some of the later videos. So that being said, we've covered myth 1 and 2, and now we know that is a misconception, and Office 365 is a good fit for most type of businesses. So take a look. And I hope this is a valuable video for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to post me any questions. I hope you like it. Thank you. Thanks again for watching this video from exchangeexpro.com.